Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild and Uncut Podcast, brought to you by Ruger. I'm your host, Kristy Titus. Thank you for tuning in. The line is going hot, so let's go full send on this episode. In a world where rugged and reliable matters, Ruger stands strong. Celebrating 75 years of American-made craftsmanship, Ruger continues to set the standard for excellence in firearms. From the iconic 1022 to the American rifle and beyond, each firearm embodies precision engineering and our deep-rooted traditions. Join us in honoring a legacy built on strength, innovation, and the American spirit. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wild and Uncut Podcast. I'm here today with a good friend in conservation and in life, Steve Decker, who is the CRO of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. It sounds like you're an accountant. We know you're not an accountant.
You know, math would be my last on my list of accomplishments.
You and me both. I still use my fingers to count.
Yes, I do too. Yeah. And toes if I need them, but R is for revenue. So essentially anything revenue-based or revenue-oriented. Fundraising obviously is a big piece of what we do. All of those pieces are with me. So membership, our partnerships, industry relationships, all of those things, our development, philanthropy programs. So really consolidated under the title of revenue, I guess. But I do sound like I'm from the IRS.
Yeah, but he's not coming to you and auditing you, so thank God for that. Your dad is one of the co-founders of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation that started going way back to 1984.
Yeah, I was a pup.
You were. We both were.
We both were, yes.
How old were you?
So 15.
You were 15,
yeah.
Okay.
So this is our 40th anniversary this year. May 14th, 1984, RMEF was incorporated. Yeah. Little nowhere, northwest Montana.
Yeah.
And we say started with very humble beginnings, and they're probably never a truer statement.
Yeah, I agree.
My father is a logger. We had a real estate guy in Bob Munson, his brother who ran a drive-through, and our local minister in the church. Mm-hmm. We're really the four original that brought the concept forward. Bill and Dan were out within the first 6 months, really, and then it was Bob and my dad from that point on.
Mm-hmm. And little did he know he would change the landscape of conservation. They collectively.
Yes, this year, Kristy specifically, has been really interesting to look back 40 years. So 4 decades of the organization and knowing really the struggles in the beginning.
Yeah.
Really nobody knew who RMEF was. There was a lot of mistakes made. None of these were nonprofit specialists by any stretch.
They were loggers from Montana. No, they were not.
So there's a lot of trial and error and mistakes.
Yeah.
But in 1988, we Bob was a very bold and visionary. He was a big part of that early, really reaching high on the ladder. And we were able to do a project in southwest Montana called Rob Ledford. It became the Rob Ledford Wildlife Management Area. It's about 18,000 acres, forever protected. And we've done a lot of stewardship work on it over the years. Really critical winter range for elk, highly susceptible to development, and a lot of the things we see today. But that was really a landmark. It was you could feel the change in momentum. Like it legitimized the organization. People were like, wow, this is real.
Yeah.
So that momentum really carried then into the 90s. The 90s were crazy. Just every year of growth, it became exponential. And towards the end of the 90s, things started to stabilize. And you kind of, as an organization, it's almost like growing up like a kid. Mm-hmm. We were in that almost 20 years old, wondering what we were going to be as an organization. I've worked there a long time. I was in the field. I'd gone to Canada and South Dakota and different places. So I got to observe not from so much of a leadership perspective, more as a staff member, rank and file. I witnessed a lot of that evolution of the organization. I'm proud that most, probably notable for us as I look back 40 years, we are true to what we were founded to do.
Yes.
The beginning intention is still the focus on the mission, the efficiency which we strive for with all of our donors, our members. Those are contributions to us that we're stewards of, and it's imperative that we be as efficient and effective as possible in delivery of our mission. And looking back now, just I think around Thanksgiving, we went over 9 million acres conserved and enhanced. It's amazing. So it's been an incredible journey. I feel very fortunate. I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to serve the organization, the mission every day. So it's been great.
He just summarized 40 years in 3 minutes and made it sound super simple, but it's not. It's there's over 400 and almost 75 chapters nationwide.
Yeah, so crazy. I'll jump in there really quick. About 500 leading into COVID. Never in our history as a grassroots event-based fundraising organization. In April of 2020 was probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life.
Yes.
Kyle Weaver would tell you the same thing. We sat there we've had hurricanes, we've had floods, we've had wildfire that have impacted regionally banquets in some given year throughout the years. But this was nationwide.
Yeah,
it was
worldwide.
a shutdown. Worldwide. So we were really nervous in 2020. But I can honestly say, in a testament to our members, our supporters, our volunteers, became creative. We found ways. We actually came out of COVID in better financial health than we went into COVID. We continued to grow as an organization through some really unprecedented challenges. So, again, I think it's a testament to those that choose to support us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember early in COVID, confusion around the dinner table was around, is this a pandemic that's going to wipe us off the face of the planet?
Yes.
Elk, hunting, conservation probably weren't the topics of conversation.
No.
That shouldn't be the most important. I felt really compelled at the time that we stay the course in messaging. We did not change how we were doing things. We didn't change to try to get in front of other things and just let it play out. And I'm really proud of the fact that we just maintained our course, as nervous as we were. And I think on the other side of it, we're very thankful for being where we are today.
Well, it's because of the steadfast support of our membership. So 200 and how many thousand members roughly?
Just over 215 to 220 on any given day.
So, 200,000 people roughly have impacted 9 million acres of wild places for wildlife. And, when I talk to a non-hunting crowd, or even, conversely, you look at an anti-hunting crowd and they want to attack what we do. And my biggest thing I hang my hat on is, as a hunter, as a conservationist, is you don't like what we're doing, you don't like who we are, you don't like that we harvest and take from the land, but what have you done to give back? And in almost every argument, a non-hunter, anti-hunter, they really can't name anything that they've done to give back. And we have 200,000 volunteers, 200,000 members, plus our volunteers in a chapters of nearly 500 across the country that could look in the eye of any anti-hunter or any non-hunter and say, hey, I'm proud. We have conserved or enhanced collectively 9 million acres.
Yep.
That is tremendous. Not only that, but, we add in PR dollars, which is Pittman-Robertson dollars, comes from the taxation of firearms, ammunition, et cetera. And you add in the state tags license sales, which fuels 75% of statewide conservation budgets. Every hunter, every member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, every conservationist can say, hey, I can, of those 9 million acres, let's say we divide that out amongst how many members we have. Let's do the math really quick here, Steve. Let me get my calculator out here. So if we have 9 million acres conserved or enhanced, right?
Yep.
9 million. Is that 9 million? That's 90.
That's 90.
Let's take back one.
There you
and
go.
You divide it, let's say 200,000 members. So each member has helped the success of 45 acres.
Yeah.
So if you could look at someone who's a non-hunter or anti-hunter and say, well, I have personally impacted statistically, as the average, 45 acres per person.
Right.
That's doing something.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
That's doing something. When you can hang your hat and say, hey, this is what I've done. What have you done?
Right. And all of these, it becomes even more complex. And that's, I think, I don't spend a lot of time on anti-hunters because I just don't think we'll change their minds. So you take
No, I hear
5
you.
to 10%.
But the non-hunting community.
The non-hunting community should, the more they're educated and know and understand the role that hunting plays in management of wildlife, the fact that we have the greatest conservation model in North America that's stood the test of time, that has recovered many, many species, that's all funded and fueled by hunting. And hunting, not only through the funding component, but it's also a form of management. By keeping the herds at appropriate levels, they're not, decimating certain habitats. That's all tools within managers' toolbox to be able to have healthy and sustainable herds. And then there's this kind of crescendo effect to other species. So the habitat protection, while elk is our marquee, when you think about the impact that RMEF has on other big game and non-hunted species, everybody wins, including the wildlife.
Yeah, well, because it's the ecosystem is a shared ecosystem. When one thrives, they all thrive.
Right, for sure.
And that goes into when we're talking about predator management, ungulate management, all of the above species management, and it's really a tribute to people want to hunt. They want to give back. We want to ensure the success of these species, these populations, and in wild places. And let's be honest, like we all want a place to go hunting that has wildlife in it, which, as you guys know, at RMEF, you guys have worked really hard for a lot of different access initiatives, because that is the number one reason why people either don't hunt or they quit hunting. And you guys have I don't know how many years ago you guys brought in a really big push on, hey, we need to make sure that everyone has access.
Yeah, so ironically, when I speak about Robb Creek in 1988, maybe not by design, but by outcome, that is accessible to the public. It's now a state wildlife management area that's actually pretty dang good hunting. So while our lands program at the time maybe wasn't designed around it, as we got into the early 2000s and really recognized the amount of pressure and really the congestion of hunting, we really started to formulate and think about things in terms of access at a more focused level. Most all of our lands work, our acquisitions result. You have a couple of really good ones there in Oregon and some in Wyoming. That Mule Creek in Wyoming was just a great one.
The John Day Headwaters in Oregon was
a great one.
The unveiling of that was awesome to be part of.
Yeah. So we really, and now focus more in our lands program on access specifically. And we're actually looking at additional tools, not just acquisition, but other easement opportunities. We start getting into some of the landlocked public land. We've got great partners like Onyx and others that are really keyed and provide us really good data points to pursue that. But we're trying to even expand the toolbox. And again, I think easements are just pure access easements can be a tool in the future to allow us. And we've deployed some of those where they make sense. But I think you can see that becoming more and more of a common theme for us.
Well, and I think there's some misconception too when you talk about acquisition of land, that people think that RMEF takes their money and they buy land and then they go film their TV show on it, or people, special VIPs get access. That's not what RMEF does with acquired property. That does not occur. And so what actually happens is you guys are not in a position to manage those lands. So you hand them over to an agency, whether it be a federal agency, BLM, state land, and then you give them the opportunity, you archive that property so that it can't be developed, protecting it permanently, but enshrining it for public use.
Correct. Yes. And that is exactly the model. And no, there are no secret backdoor hunting places for VIPs or anything like that. I've heard that for 30 years.
Well, when I was co-hosting the show, I was like, oh, you get special privileges because it's like, well, no, that's actually not true.
Well, I've been here a long time. I've never had access to anything like that, so I don't know where it exists. So,
but it's just good to kind of put out there, when you use the word acquisition, it can be misunderstood, right? And maybe in a very innocent way, not anything nefarious attached to it. Yeah,
I agree 100%. And even there is some confusion with some conservation easements, or what we call voluntary conservation agreements, where we enter into with a landowner that the habitat may be key to migration, it may be key to calving or winter. We may work with a private landowner to remove the subdivision rights from it, but the landowner still retains ownership and still can pick and choose who has access to that property. We're conserving that more from a broader herd perspective than a connectivity perspective, than purely an access perspective. So this, habitat is probably one of the more simple things we deal with as an organization now, but there's still layers of complexity to that. When 20 years ago, it was habitat. in today's world, it's habitat. We also have advocacy as an extremely important part of our mission. Our stakeholders want us as an organization to represent them on a myriad of issues across. So we've really had to focus on and beef up our engagement in advocacy and issues like delistings of predators. There's been some crazy ballot initiatives in the last several years we've been very active in.
Colorado has just been a nightmare this last election cycle.
Just had a huge victory, though.
Yes.
Like, to think that, maybe 6 months before the election, 5 months before the election, the initiative designed to remove mountain lion and bobcat hunting was favorable, winning by about 13 points. And at the election, I think it was defeated by more than 11. That's a big swing in a short period of time.
Huge
and,
swing.
SCI played a key role in that. RMEF played a key role in that. We worked together. We brought a lot of the industry together, and through effective messaging on the role of hunting and the importance of predator management, to get a victory in Colorado at this point, giving the demographic change there, is a huge step.
Tremendous success. And I think it also goes to show that when we stand alone, we don't win.
Correct.
But when we join forces as a collective, when we have hunting ambassadors, whether you're an ambassador like it's on a national level or you're an ambassador in your own home and community, to be that voice and to talk about how hunting is conservation. And that's something that RMEF kind of trademarked a number of years ago, because it truly is. And it's very important and significant that we share that message and story within our own communities. And that's what swung it, is you have all of these people that come together and say, hey, these nonprofits, these groups, individuals, and we, fortunately where we are in media, you guys were very on the front lines of all of this. You pulled away from linear TV in 2017. You guys started Elk Network, which is kind of it's a changed dynamic now. But you guys came to that realization that, hey, linear TV, legacy TV has its place. However, there's also YouTube, there's also this social media phenomenon, and we can all become our own messaging centers and control how news is delivered without a bias, when putting the spin on it from the perspective of the North American model of wildlife conservation and not from an anti-hunting side. And that's, I think, the beauty of this election cycle in a whole. The country saw that legacy media no longer controls the messaging and branding, and that we have more control over that, and our voices are being heard, and it is changing minds.
For sure. This was an interesting cycle. A lot of money spent in this election cycle on state and federal levels. And I think they're coming out of it. I do think there's a lot of rethinking about how to message. But again, from a hunter's perspective, the legacy media not having the stranglehold that they've had is important. And as an organization, media is one of those things that's continuously evolving. We're trying to stay with it. We're not as nimble as some, probably because, again, we're a nonprofit. We do our best, but it's hard to keep up with.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. I started out, you're the reason I ended up with a TV show, obviously. I don't know backstory going back. I stalked you for a number of years and co-hosted and worked with you on the Team Elk show. And then when you guys started your own media outlet, it was a place for me to start my own show. And so it does get, RMEF, you have always been like that front running, moving forward, visionary. If you look at what you've done with Hunter Christmas here in Las Vegas, you have so many of the ranching Western world that is, a lot of people in that world are hunters, but some are just non-hunters. But they're, at the end of the day, they're in the livestock land industry, and they understand habitat, and it's such a great marriage of the two, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, you've taken Hunter Christmas and made it just a tremendous success.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a journey for sure. What I recognized here wasn't, if you go through get past the cowboy hats and the rodeo part of it, which is core and essential for sure. This is the largest rural American gathering in the United States.
That's right.
So it isn't, you don't have to be a tie-down roper by trade to be here. This is really a collection of people that live in rural America or care about rural America, and the Western lifestyle is a big piece and important component of it. But I saw it as a target and key demographic for us as an organization, and this started, the expo itself started in 2014. We had some presence here in smaller pieces leading up to that. This was a kind of pushing all the chips onto the table and starting an expo. It's tough. It's 10 days, but it's an incredible 10 days. Last year we did 370-some thousand people through here over 10 days. In the beginning, I probably wasn't overly popular the first couple of years. We have a Cowboy Christmas downstairs, Las Vegas events. The city runs that. A lot of people didn't even know we were up here. We did our best to get people, but over time, it has become really integrated into the whole things that are happening at NFR. So it's been amazing. It's been incredible.
Yeah, and I came the first years. I dipped out during COVID. You guys went to Dallas briefly for a year, to the free state of Dallas. Yeah. That's tough, but we're back in Vegas, and it's it's a great venue and a great place to be, and you see these worlds all really merging together, and there are some passionate people here. Holy smokes! Passionate for wildlife, passionate for wild places, and passionate for agriculture. In our environment, and I think
in America.
In America.
This is as patriotic and as America first group as or just crowd of people you'll ever meet.
In the heart of the wilderness, every step counts. No matter where or what you're hunting, OnX Hunt Elite has you covered in the U.S. and Canada with offline capability, land ownership, 3D mapping, and you can even access specialty courses, hunt research tools, and elite-specific features. No matter where you pursue the wild, adventure is assured when you upgrade to Elite for the ultimate hunting experience. There are a lot of Americans that understand the value of hunting, but we all know that right now, national support of hunting is extremely volatile. It seems that with every passing day, our voice is diminished and the court of public opinion is not effectively hearing our side. We need advocates working on our behalf in Washington, D.C. to defend our freedom to hunt. And thankfully, when we need it the most, we have that advocate in Safari Club International. SCI's world headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the United States Capitol, which means that SCI is on the ground with our congressional leaders and federal agencies on our behalf, on behalf of the hunting community. SCI has an active political presence in all 50 states through their extensive chapter network and government affairs staff. If you have ever wondered why you should be a member of SCI, you shouldn't wonder anymore. Join us in the fight to defend hunting. Go to safariclub.org to learn more. I think what also makes this event really a great marriage between the cowboy world, the National Finals Rodeo, and RMEF is that so many of these ranching families are, livestock dependent families. They're also getting their own attacks on the anti-side, right? So how they treat their livestock, they don't realize necessarily that these horses, the cattle that are here, are the best treated animals in the world.
There's bulls here that live a better life than I do.
Oh, man. Yeah, they have their own full-time doctors, and veterinarians that travel with them. But also, they're kind of fighting some of the same struggles and battles with the same groups that we struggle and battle with as hunters.
Right. Yeah, and again, you said it earlier, united in interest, we become a force.
That's right.
So trying to segregate, hunters have a really bad habit of going down, I'm an archery hunter, I'm a rifle hunter, I'm a muzzleloader hunter, public land, private land. Like, the other groups are not fractured. Mm-hmm. The other side that wants to challenge our way of life are united in a single front. We need to take more of a mentality as hunters to that. Like, listen, I can respect the fact that you hunt with a bow or I hunt with something else, that you hunt a certain area and I hunt a separate area. At the end of the day, we're both hunting, and that should be the common cause that binds us together. We will have much more success in that than challenging some of these outside forces, bringing the rural and Western lifestyle together with us and uniting only increases our numbers, which increases the influence that we have. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that you guys have launched that I think is great is outdoor class.
Yeah.
And so that's brand new. So not only, are you appealing to the nation with what you're doing with conservation and habitat restoration, but you're also trying to educate those new hunters that perhaps have been lifelong non-hunters, that now, there's so many women my age now, especially, that are like empty nest wives
Right.
or women that are like, oh my gosh, my kids are gone. What am I going to do with my time? And they have money and they want to become volunteers. They want something to get passionate about and get behind, but also they want something to go do with their spouse. And hunting is really feeling like this huge void. Women is the fastest growing demographic in that space. And an outdoor class is really designed not only just for women, it's actually more, it's just unisex. It doesn't
Right.
matter what gender you are. But you guys have some great educators in that space.
Oh, for sure. We're really proud of our or I guess what we'd call subject matter experts in this. From Randy Newberg, who was, and Corey Jacobson, both as really kind of founding partners in it. Remy Warren is critical. John Barklow on the survival side, if you just want really good information of how to get out there and be safe. We have others that we're working with, hopefully talking to Kristy about coming in. And really, the intent of outdoor class is, we talk more and more about adult onset hunters. One of the other barriers, so we talk about access to a good place with quality animals as an opportunity or a barrier to retention and recruitment. We've created our own hurdles just in not having people feel comfortable about getting out there without a mentor or a friend or something. It's a big challenge, and
it's very overwhelming.
Yes, it can be intimidating. So outdoor class is designed to kind of be beyond hunter ed. Hunter ed is the beginning. That's a critical element to getting prepared. Gun safety and those things that it delivers is critically important. But then I'm safe with my gun. I know what I'm doing. But now how do I go find a mule deer? And how do I successfully harvest a mule deer? Or how do I this is like simplistic things like that, which for us sounds like simplistic. Some people seems to be a daunting task. But then you can go as deep as you want. I've hunted elk my entire life, as you can probably imagine. I'm not very good at it, but I've done it my whole life. I've gone through these courses with, some of Randy's stuff and some of Corey's stuff, and I continue to learn. And I kind of equate hunting to golf. You never perfect it.
Yeah.
You can always get better. So,
well, there's nothing more humbling than the mountain. So
that's right. So the cool thing about outdoor classes, it does go from very basic, just getting warmed up in entry, to maybe somebody that's really at a 301 or 401 type level that is just looking to continue to hone the craft. And again, we have great partners with Loopold and their marksmanship course in there. That's there's a lot that I don't know and understand that I can learn even after decades of shooting. There's something for everyone in outdoor class, and we're continuing to add new content, continuing to grow it, and we think it's a good, it's a Vimeo based video platform. You can kind of consume it at your own pace, and we're just going to continue to try to build that out. And for us, from the RMEF side, the intent behind this was, if you look at our mission statement, hunting heritage is a piece.
That's right.
Historically, for the most part, we've granted money to others to fulfill that component of our mission. Outdoor class was an opportunity for us to own and deploy something that fulfills the hunting heritage component of our mission, and that's important to us. It's good to help and support others, but it's also good to control your own destiny a little bit. So that's a big piece of that.
The other nice thing, too, is you think about a kid or not child, but a kid, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, they've done hunter ed. And they're like, okay, well, now what?
Right.
Hunter ed only takes people for so long. Even if you're an adult onset hunter, it's like that next step beyond hunter ed, because hunter ed is such a basic introduction on what happens in the field, and kind of a very high level experience. This really just takes things in, like Corey Jacobson's going in there, teaching you how to use a diaphragm, how to select a diaphragm, how to make a cow sound, a bull sound. all of these things, and that's very overwhelming in itself. And then, you realize you don't have to be the best in the world to go out there and try.
Right. Well, and even being around friends in a hunting camp, whatever, coming into that with at least a semblance of confidence that you're not wearing the wrong camo. You're not like holding the gun upside down. Those are all just basic things that so many of us, that I was fortunate to have a father that introduced me to and took me through the paces of hunting and gave me all those base skills. Not everybody has that opportunity. So again, at its base, outdoor class can serve that, but then we're building on top of that again and again. The recent stuff from John Barklow, Backcountry Survival for the Modern Hunter, it's awesome. It's just really, really good stuff.
I should watch that, since my cameraman was just airlifted off the mountain this season. So
right,
I should take a couple of notes on that. Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
You
as
don't.
experienced as you are literally one of the most hardcore.
Thank you.
Been at it for. I've obviously known you forever. always been impressed and humbled by your approach, your tenacity, all of those things. But you're still aware enough to know, hey, John Barklow can probably teach me something.
Yeah, I should probably listen to his stuff. Well, because that is part of it too, is it doesn't matter how many days you spend in the field, there's always something you can learn from someone.
Yeah. And inevitably a curveball.
100% a curveball everywhere you go, and that's like when it comes to shooting skills, you're talking about teaming up with Loophole on some of the shooting. And I remember the first show I did with RMEF, I had a shot at a cow elk and it was beyond what I was comfortable shooting at. Now, today, I would make that shot in a second.
Oh, yeah.
But then I was like, I felt so bad because you had sent me on this cow hunt and I had hunted, I don't even remember how many days, multiple days. And I finally get the shot and I couldn't make it. Right. And I felt like I had let you down and I was so afraid. And so what happened is I went back out with my buddy and we ended up harvesting an elk and we got closer. But I realized, I need to be more proficient and confident. And so now, like me personally, as I'm actually teaching women's groups and doing a lot of that also, because just because you sit at the bench and you shoot 100 yards does not mean you're prepared to make that shot in the field at 250 yards from the standing off a tripod or whatever the situation is. And boy, you can never stop learning. That's one thing in life is especially with the advancement of technology. Look at how much onX has changed in the last year, where now you can range where you fire a shot and it pins it into your onX. I mean, it's just like it never ends, and so you have to keep learning with the curve.
Right. Yeah, and to me, deployment of those kind of tools, we kind of get into some of these conversations about the technology side. Like, those tools are actually making us more effective in conducting a clean harvest and recovering
ethical
animals.
Hunting.
Yes, there's always going to be these discussions about deployment of those kind of technologies, but in so many ways, what I see are just the enhancement of not losing an animal, the ethical components of it, and as long as we keep our eye on that, I think we're good. But it is the tools that are out there, like the e-scouting stuff. You get my age and
your
get
age,
to that point.
Our age,
get to our age.
You get to our age.
Like the more I can
Thanks,
do,
Steve.
the more I can do.
We're not that old.
Right.
Gosh.
But the pre-stuff, you can figure so much out through effective e-scouting. I didn't really put a lot of effort or I guess focus on that maybe a decade ago, but maybe it didn't exist at the same levels either. But some of the tools that exist within these platforms now are, especially onX, just it's next level. It really just makes you, again, it comes back all of this confidence conversation. Being a confident hunter is a successful hunter. And these tools out there exist. It behooves you to use them.
Well, even in onX has a layer for RMEF that will tell people habitat projects that have been done in an area that may be benefiting wildlife and helping them be attracted to those locations.
Yeah, and access as well.
Yeah, and access locations. And I mean, I onX is like a Bible for me on my hunting seasons, especially when it comes to hunting what we call more, not full checkerboard, but sections of public versus private land, and then knowing, you can go into those areas. And especially when you come out west, it's so important to have that insight and have those layers and have those tools, and having RMEF have their own layer in there where someone can go, hey, they did a water project here, and there's possibly a place for elk that they could go drink, or antelope, if you're antelope hunting, and antelope have to drink daily. I mean, these are resources that we have through these great partnerships that increase your hunting experience, complement the outdoor class. And it's hopefully providing a better experience for everyone now that we've conserved or enhanced 9 million acres. I mean, come on now. We're making it better.
10 million's right around the corner.
Well, maybe in 2 years or a year. What's your goal for that?
Yeah, I'd have to sit down and think, I guess. I don't know, I don't know what pace we get to 10. It'll come. We're pursuing high impact, high quality projects. So it's one of those things now where it's not always about the amount. Like, we just did a little 23-acre piece down in Idaho. There'll be a RMEF film coming out on that soon, and it's really cool. Like, it's turned into now put a little parking lot in there, build a little bridge over a drainage canal, and it opened up a ton of BLM. I mean, it's several thousand acres of BLM behind it that's now more easily accessible. It's 23 acres.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to count a ton on the total.
Yeah.
But its impact
impactful
is
for the
significant.
community.
Right. So really, we do that evaluation from what is the full impact versus, is it 20,000 acres versus, 23 acres can be a big deal.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you think about all those checkerboard pieces in John Day, having access points to get into those, it opened up. I
Yep.
can't even remember how many acres now. It's tremendous. And in RMEF, you guys used to have this really cool infographic thing on your website. You could go in and swipe through them to see all the accomplishments by state.
Yeah.
And then overall accomplishments. So if you guys really want to dork out and like deep dive on conservation stuff, just go to rmef.org and you can go all in on that and get tons of information. Anything else you guys have coming up you want to share with listeners, viewers?
Well, I've been in Vegas since a week ago Tuesday, so coming up for me is going home and relaxing for a couple of days. But no, we'll wind down. We're winding down 2024. This 40th anniversary has been incredible. As we move into next year, I think one of the things you'll see from us is a bigger focus on the impact to big game.
Yes.
So we're known for elk, but we do a lot for other big game. Mm-hmm. We just had a substantial accomplishment in Utah. We were able to help bring to fruition an acquisition the state was conducting. They were short. We were able to step in at the last minute and fulfill the gap. It was north of $1 million, but it was really a critical migration corridor. Probably had more to do with mule deer than it did
Mm-hmm.
with elk. Elk were certainly a component of it, but we really need to recognize the impact the organization has on a variety of species, specifically big game. And I think we're going to be really more concise in how we look at and speak to that. This time of year, we're just going through budgets, which is an arduous process for me. I'm not a numbers guy, even though I sound like a tax collector.
Yeah.
But we're also on the strategic plan side. We're looking forward, and strategically, we're very blessed as an organization to be in the position that we are. Again, we're looking for bigger impact, continuing forward, fulfilling the mission, and really being good stewards of the monies that people support us with to deliver our mission, because that's what's expected of us, and we try to hold ourselves to a high account for that.
Yeah, well, it's been such an honor being able to work with you over the years and continue to work together, and I'm a proud Life member, and really glad to be here in Las Vegas with you, and I really appreciate your time sitting down with my viewers, listeners, and sharing the story of RMEF and the heart that really is behind the organization. That's become, tremendous, part of my family. I mean, my parents have been members since I was a little kid. I tell this story all the time, but I remember when my mom and dad would go, and my mom would always dress up, and they would go to a banquet, or once in a while they would save up and go to Reno, where the convention was back in the day, and that was their vacation with their friends, and it is a good time. And here in Vegas now, you guys have taken that, it's a good time, but you can come here, you can invest in part of what RMEF is doing here at NFR by becoming a member. You guys have incentivized that. So if you guys, obviously this is going to air after this year's NFR, but 2025, come here, come to the booth. You guys have raffles that are associated with membership drives and giveaways, and it's just a great time to get engaged and really get acquainted with what the brand is.
Yeah, for sure.
Or join a chapter, even better.
Yeah. Join a chapter.
Volunteer.
Local impact is always important. We have a great granting program through all the states that we're active. You can see those impacts in your backyard. Mm-hmm. And for us, this whole year of 40th anniversary has been a lot of reflection. In the last few months, we really have started to turn our vision forward and continuing to move the organization forward. We know that advocacy is going to be a big piece of what we do in the future. Access will always be at the top of our list. And again, delivering for our constituents, those that support us. And, elk will always be out in front for us for sure. And Kristy, you and I do go back a long way. You are family to the Elk Foundation. We love what you do, how you do it, how you carry yourself. You've been a great ambassador for us, and we greatly appreciate that.
Well, I love you guys, and I love the organization. So if you guys aren't a member, I encourage you, go to rmef.org and join. They have membership levels as low as $35, I think. Life memberships are specialing around $1,500.
Yep.
And with those life memberships, you guys usually do a rifle giveaway of some kind. I can't remember what the rifle is this year. But I know I have a gorgeous life member rifle sitting in my gun case, and you guys definitely should look at doing that too. Progressive raffles, all kinds of things. So get involved in your community. My sister has kids, and she had her kids active in their local chapters, and I think it's a really great way for kids to connect the power of hunting, so that your kids can also be other ambassadors to kids. There's youth memberships and all kinds of stuff, so it's not just for adults.
And if not us, pick a group, get involved, support hunting, support conservation, protect your passion. And again, if it's not us, find one that fits you right, and be active and support it. Engage at some level.
Yeah.
We all owe that to the resource. We have to give back. And again, I'll never say that we're perfect and it's all us, but pick a group, support them.
Yeah, hunting is conservation.
Right.
That's right. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Wild Uncut Podcast. Go on to rmef.org. Steve, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in. We are coming at you from the Las Vegas National Finals Rodeo, Hunter and Outdoor Christmas, here at the Las Vegas Convention Center. If you didn't make it this year, you got to come next year.
When conditions get tough on a mountain hunt, your gear must be tougher. Making every opportunity count means selecting equipment that will not fail. Any condition, anywhere, Hornady Outfitter ammunition is designed to perform. Available in a wide range of cartridges from .243 to .375 Ruger. When you're looking for a hard-hitting, deep-penetrating bullet and cartridge that performs in the most rugged environments, look no further than Hornady Outfitter ammunition. Thank you for listening to the Wild and Uncut Podcast. If you would like to hear more, be sure to subscribe to my Pursue the Wild digital series on YouTube and follow me at Kristy Titus on Facebook and Instagram.